Well, thank you, Mr. Grant. Mr. Louie French, briefly.
Thank you, Chair. On a similar thread, actually, the government are currently running a pension credit awareness campaign, which personally I think is excellent.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because it features Len Goodman, who was from Bexley, grew up in Bexley and went to the same school as me, full disclosure, Chair. Len, if you're listening, it's a 10 from me.
Many years
All seriousness, what would the kind of advice, we've spoken a lot about people on state pension missing out here, what would the advice you would give to anyone listening, pensioners, about how they come forward to claim pension credit, and how many people do we think are affected by this?
Well, I think it's a statistic that we've talked about before. We think underclaim. I don't know. We're working through the reliability of this, but something about 750,000 people might be.
How many? 250,000 people.
Three-quarters of a million people might be, or more, might be eligible for pension credit and not claiming it. Although for some people they're eligible for only relatively small amounts, because remember it tops you up to 170 something pounds, I think. The campaign with Len Goodman was very successful. We saw, and I think I talked to Sir Stephen's committee about this the other day, I think in that particular week of action, I think we saw a tripling of claims compared to the same week for the year before, and pension credit claims remain elevated, and we are working very hard to work our way through those claims. The big message that we gave as part of that video was, it's not just a message for people who might themselves be entitled. What we were also seeking to reach out was maybe family members or friends, because often they may be kind of more aware and able to support older family members to make a claim that they might be entitled to. So I don't know whether the claims are sort of coming in indirectly.
It's working.
But it is definitely working, yeah.
Good money into people's pockets when they
Yeah,
get
yeah.
most.
Yeah, and on that point about making sure this information is more accessible to people that perhaps aren't online. Personally, I'm going to hopefully, with your department support, set up a pensions event later this year to try and tackle this problem. But in terms of the kind of headcount and kind of the questions that Mr. Grant was asking about your department, are you going to require an increase in headcount, or will this be captured by the existing headcount you've got and the numbers you've been discussing on the other issues?
Well, look, this plays into a wider point, which I think we talked about with Sir Stephen's committee when I was there with the Secretary of State the other week, and just in terms of overall demand for our services, which is significantly higher in a number of fronts. Pension credit is one such element. So what we regularly do is we look at the overall demand position of the department and sort of seek to rebalance. We have to live within the spending envelope that we've got, but we regularly have to look at where we move colleagues around to and from in order to keep up with pressure. And pension credit is one area where we're looking at how we meet the demand. As you say, it's happy to be getting the demand, but what we then need to make sure is that people aren't waiting for payments. And there is an online component to it, but it is not, unlike the new state pension, where, as I said, over half of claims we can do, fully straight through without any human hands. In the case of pension credit, it's not a fully automated system, so it does need people to deliver.